What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to the Self-Medicated Podcast, man. I am your host, Troy Alim, aka The Wayfarer. This is the Self-Medicated Podcast for Monday, February 17th. What is this? Episode 4 at this point? We rolling. 4 episodes in. Getting better, I hope. I hope. We were just talking about, kind of went on a little awesome conversation that should have been recorded. It's my fault that we weren't recording. But Justin has me trying this Goose Island, Bourbon County 2015 and 2018 stout aged in bourbon barrels beer. I think is all of the adjectives I can put into it. Really good. So like dark beer, heavy beer, stout, very chocolatey, very bourbony, very eclectic. Like you got to be into this shit to fuck with it, and I'm into it, and I fuck with it. And we were talking about, so I did a Google search. So this shit is called Bourbon County, so it's named after a specific place in Kentucky. And the total population is under 20,000 people in this entire county, right? Where this beer is made or named after. We got to thinking about how that industry is like all of the industry for that region, very similar to like a coal mining town, right? Or Humboldt County out in California, how they do weed, right? Like this community is reliant upon this good, and that is their entire basis for economic stability overall. And because I think is so volatile of a way of living, that's why the population ends up being so small and restricted in these types of areas, right? It's very familial, lineal, how it's passed down to maintaining these. But the other thing is, what's interesting about what I think, like an example of what black people have been complaining about in like as far as treatment in this country, is the folks in those types of communities, even if they were, and like including immigrant communities of Italians and Irish folks and, you know, all these different other immigrants, they were given the opportunity to have some sort of economic benefit of the privatization of their shit, right? So like if you think about it, like Goose Island is based in Chicago, but they have a beer named Bourbon County out in Kentucky. So they have some sort of connection to Kentucky, which means that even as a private industry or as a private company in this like booming industry, there is still some sort of economic tie back to the original community where this shit came from, right? The name of it is on the bottle. Like they like bourbon barrels, you're probably only going to be able to get those from Kentucky. Like we don't got none in Chicago, I can tell you that. Not no original ones, right? So like if you think about that economic or that kind of generational connection to economic opportunity, those are the types of things that black folks have never been afforded. Those types of partnerships and deals that would empower those communities for the long term to be able to build and be acknowledged. That's the type of shit that black folks have been complaining about. So yeah, stop doing that fuck shit. Start giving black people their credit for their shit. I mean, we're starting to see it a little bit more with like IP, intellectual property, because like white folks can't physically give up their shit. Like they have a hard time with that. So like I do think we're starting to see some progress towards kind of a little bit more equity when we talk about like entertainment industry, and intellectual property and creativity, the culture as the kids call it. I think you see a little bit more of it there, but you know, we should try to replicate that out overall. So that was a political statement, and I do have one other political-ish thing to talk about, but I don't really want to get into politics too heavy in this podcast unless it's really localized politics and shit that matters, either in Chicago or any other kind of local place. I'm not really trying to like bring too much attention to like national politics, because it's a fucking game, like it's a joke. But I will say, if Bernie Sanders wins the nomination for the Democrats, Bernie versus Trump debates are going to be some of the best shit ever. They're going to be awesome. They're gonna be fucking incredible. Can you imagine fucking Trump and Bernie losing his shit, hair all wild, and some dumb shit that Trump just said, and Trump being like completely oblivious to how dumb he sounds, but like treating the fuck out of Bernie, like, you're gonna have a heart attack right now. Like, can you imagine how entertaining that shit would be? Like, nothing productive will ever get said, and no, like, Bernie don't have the patience to deal with Donald Trump's ass, and Donald Trump is all he's gonna do is below the belt shots the whole time. That's gonna be like a great heavyweight bout as far as entertainment value. Like, you can't, and they're like the polar opposites. You got the extreme right, you got the extreme left. Like, that's shit. That's what the people want to see. That's fucking, that's Floyd and Manny when we wanted to see it, goddamn. Not way after. So yeah, that's my Donnie versus Bernie would be fucking entertaining. That would be awesome. I'm surprised there's not a cartoon about it already.
Oh, there will be if that happens.
Yeah, it will. 100%. It will. South Park or The Simpsons are gonna have, like, they're gonna have it here soon.
Yeah. And if SNL can be funny, they would have a great opportunity for some great comedy. But I don't see that happening. They
don't have that platform is outdated. That's the only thing. Like, I still feel like they have good creative folks involved with that show, but the platform is outdated. You gotta figure out how to update your platform if you want to continue to exist.
It's a legacy act, so it's never going away.
I mean, it could go somewhere. Depending on how this industry goes, it can go away.
It would have to take it. Was it NBC? Was it NBC? Yeah, it'd take NBC to go somewhere for them to get rid of that.
Which is not. Do you think that's far fetched for NBC to be knocked the fuck out of here? All right, so what does NBC really own in terms of shit that has replay value? Because in order to be considered one of these like gatekeeper companies, right? Like one of these ultra powerful companies, you have to have something that is going to keep you relevant always, right? You have to have something in your pocket. So one of your assets has to be something that keeps you relevant forever. Friends, for example, The Office, for example, Family Guy. Like, what is their franchise that they have under like 30 Rock?
Dancing with the Stars, The Masked Singer, shit that appeals to people like in the Midwest, the older people, shit we don't watch or even think about.
Got it.
Those are their flagship things where they make their money. Then they can afford stuff like SNL, which
right.
probably still makes money, but it's like it's not popping in the streets.
Right.
Nobody's really talking about it.
That's a good point. But like Masked Singer, those type shits, that brings in a massive audience. So like, okay, yeah, they're definitely one of those. That's a lot of fucking eyes they have.
Daytime talk shows, those bring in a lot of money as well.
Yep.
Like
what's the daytime shows on NBC? They do all of the like.
I don't know.
They do like the divorce courts and people courts and shit on ABC, don't they? Or is that ABC?
Brother,
I don't know. Daytime TV. Yeah. Y'all let us know what be on daytime TV.
Yeah, all the people with no jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ain't got no job, let us know what be on TV while the rest of us is working.
Ready to get into the fuckery.
Which fuckery are we talking about?
Juicy Smollett.
Juicy Smollett. Motherfucking Jussie Smollett. First of all, so really this is just honestly an excuse to bring back an old topic that existed before this podcast did. So I could get my takes off now on some shit that's like a year old now. But because all that really happened is the nigga got re-indicted. But so like no new shit happened except now motherfuckers is really finna press his ass. But that really just gives us another excuse to talk about what the fuck happened. So this nigga so for those who don't know, and I don't understand how you could not know, if you're listening to this is some shit you know about, honestly. So Jussie Smollett, or as the great philosopher Dave Chappelle calls him, Juicy Smollett, the Frenchman. What was it? Was this last year? This time?
It was about
maybe a year.
It was definitely cold as fuck.
It was the polar vortex. We be having them shits all the time, so it's hard to pinpoint when exactly this was. It was sometime in the last 2 years. Jesse Smollett. I don't even remember this nigga's name. Jesse Smollett was accosted by two gentlemen who committed hate crimes against him, and that prompted some investigations and allegations that ended up an agreement made between Jesse and the district attorney, I guess. Cook County District Attorney, I believe, Kim Foxx, where he did some community service, paid a fine, and then basically charges were not pursued. I believe is the gist of what happened. I can go into details about the nigga story and all of that shit, but I don't think that's relevant right now yet. We can get into that in a little bit. But so recently what happened, the reason why, and that happened about a year ago. This was like probably December 2018, maybe. It was cold, one of them cold ass times. And so the reason why this is, so charges were dropped. He did some community service, paid a fine. Charges were dropped. This shit had gone on. Empire is still on, I think, but he got kicked off. I think I saw something where he was like maybe coming back for an episode or some shit, but nah, that was some bullshit. This probably came from him and his people. But then most recently, apparently some special prosecutors like, motherfucker,
what the hell was that?
did y'all read this shit? Did y'all see? Did y'all know what happened? And decided to reopen the case and bring charges against Jesse. So basically, all of this shit that people said was gonna happen to Jesse and he got away with, it's probably gonna end up happening to him. So there's a couple of interesting aspects to this, right? Like, one is the fact that some special prosecutor is reopening a case that was dismissed by the person who's in charge of this type of shit. That's one dynamic. That's, one lane to explore. Another lane to explore is the fact that it's an election year. Kim Foxx is running for, she's rerunning for her position, and obviously she has opponents who potentially could have a hand in facilitating this type of shit to, make her look bad for folks who believe that she should have brought charges or more should have happened or whatever. This gives her opponents a titty to latch onto, so to speak, right? Like something to hold on to oppose her. And then you have like the third aspect of really what the fuck happened. And every time I think about this, it is some of the wildest shit I can think of. And I feel like this builds also a little bit on a point I made in another podcast about watch who the fuck y'all are following in these fucking movements. So this kind of low-key builds into that in a way that's not really too hard to get to. But I want to go back to the fact that these charges are being brought up again. So what confused me is if he made a deal. He basically had a plea deal, right? Like, so he exchanged a service and some money to the government to say that, hey, because I did this community service and paid this fine, I now have demonstrated that this is not really that big of a deal. I was wilding a little bit, but y'all don't really have to press charges. I see what I did. We have some sort of agreement, right? And so to me, that was my understanding of how he basically got off. Kim Foxx and him was like, my nigga, what the fuck? You was tweaking. You had us out here doing all of this shit. You gonna have to pay a fine, do some community service, make a public statement, and we ain't gonna say shit else. Like, hands washed, everybody go their separate ways.
Typical celebrity shit.
Right, typical celebrity shit. But also kind of some solidarity shit too, if you think about it. In terms of, the public stance that Jussie said he was doing this shit for, like the kind of angle that he was kind of bringing awareness to, right? Like what he was talking about, and the fact that Kim Fox is a black woman that's backed by a lot of the progressive young black folks in Chicago. Like you could see that as kind of a solidarity statement for her to use her power to slap him on the wrist, so to speak, and allow him that platform to really elevate what he was trying to talk about. As wild as that shit was, all right, whatever. This is what happens when our people are in power. We ain't gonna fucking put you under the jail, nigga, even when you wildin', right? Because I don't think he needed to go to fucking jail. He needs to be reprimanded in some kind of way, but like to put him under the jail for the dumb shit that he did, like that's kind of wildin'. That's like sending some kids to jail for throwing rocks. It's like you reprimand them, like you let them know, yo, this shit ain't cool. You don't do that, and everybody move on. But nah, these motherfuckers is coming for his head. And apparently this special prosecutor came at Kim Fox, came at Jussie, he came at everybody. It was like, oh, hell nah, motherfuckers, do y'all know what happened? And I think that more and more details is about to start leaking. I remember when I first heard about this story, I was like, this nigga, what is he doing? Like, what is he doing? Because the shit didn't add up to me off rip. And this was at a time where you had to be very, very careful about what you like publicly announced. This was right around the time when I stopped saying my opinions publicly. Because shit like this was happening. And, all these like woke celebrities and these leaders in these work circles had all of this to say about support Jussie and all of this, but at the same time, they also know good and goddamn well that shit was not adding up and it looked funny and nigga what, right? It was a whole lot of nigga what in that story. Like you ever had a like a homie telling you something, or one of your homegirls was telling you a story and they try to skip over some shit, but it's really kind of important, and you be like, hold up, nigga, what? Like, go back, like, hold on, what happened? Yeah, this is one of the whole Jussie story is a nigga what moment. It's like wait. Like, how you just gonna skip over that when you bury in the lead, motherfucker? I don't know, man. So yeah, Jussie, so the other part is now the fact is that he's probably going to go to jail. If they're reopening this case and there's nothing but solidarity that stopped him getting convicted, he's probably going to go to jail. And, now there's this. Now it's no longer just a Trivial Pursuit movement, right? Now it's not like pop culture trivia anymore. Now it is legal precedent time. And what happens? What level is he about to be charged with? I don't know. There's just a lot. My thing is, at this point, the person who was in charge of doing this dismissed it, or they came to some sort of agreement. I feel like that's where it should be left, unless some new shit comes out or there has been some new kind of effects to that shit that happened. I feel like it should just be left where it was, and that's it. But we know that's not how shit works in this country. And if there's some kind of gain that can be had by anyone, somebody else will be thrown under the bus. And especially if that person is black. So that's what that is. But I can't wait for Jussie to say something. Because he gonna say something and it's gonna be wild. Remember the last thing he really publicly said was he was the gay Tupac.
Forgot about gay Tupac.
Yeah, so that was the last thing he was loud about. So like now what, nigga? now what you gonna say? You skated by. The other thing too is Jussie has always maintained that he was innocent. He has always said, yo, I'm innocent. I stand by what I said. La di da da. Even the people who came out and defended him, who had like conversations with him, was like, yo, the man said he was innocent. They said that so much that I started feeling like, okay, it's a technicality, right? Like you're harping on the semantics of what you're innocent about because you're only saying that, right? Like that's all you're saying. You ain't saying, you're not deviating from this stance at all. Yeah, man. Shout out to Jesse. Dwayne Wade's kid. I mean, I feel like this has been completely blown out of proportion in terms of a news item. So for those who don't know, I believe the reason that this is a news item is because the Wade family has, I guess, publicly came out with their child, their daughter, coming out as trans, and them now referring to them as female and using she, her type pronouns, changing her name to Zaya and referring to her as her at 12, and publicly announcing that Zaya is trans, right? Transsexual. And so I guess that is what's the deal. Maybe because it's Dwayne Wade, maybe because it's a pretty young child, it's a 12-year-old, maybe because whatever, this is a news item. But I feel like the most critical element to this story to me is, well, I think there's two. I think there's one is, a Black family dealing with these type of identity structures that exist and dealing with that. Like, traditionally Black folks, we don't handle this type of shit well, right? Like, there's a lot of stigmas that exist in our community about your identity and what you choose to fuck on or who you choose to fuck on and what that means about you and how folks deal with you or judge you, and not in the greatest way in our community, I think. And so I think that's one element. But then the other element that I think a lot of folks are talking about is the age aspect and the fact that Zaya is 12 years old. And, at what point do you start having autonomy over the decisions that you make about your body, your identity, your future, etc.? What role do your parents play in that? How do you support someone going through these type of, identity? I don't want to say issues, because it's literally just figuring out who you are. Everybody has this thing where you figure out who you are and what you want to be. So it's not an issue, but it's a moment, for lack of a better word. And so, yeah, I feel like that's the reason. Those are the two reasons really why this is news. Otherwise, like, at this point in 2020, who really honestly gives a fuck? There's just a lot of intersections of why this one is. A lot of people are talking about this, but I guess my take is, I don't think, are they like, when they say, so what I've heard is Zaya is transitioning, right? Does that mean that she is taking hormones? Does that mean she is going through surgeries? Like, what does that mean? Because I've heard, like, I've had trans homies who have described transitioning as more so of a kind of coming to terms with publicly identifying this way, right? And not necessarily doing any kind of medical changes, but more of a mentality change and embracing this identity and, you know what I'm saying, doing it that way. So that, I've heard folks describe that as transitioning from like being secretive or ashamed to being proud and open about it. So I've heard that as being described as a transition, but I think more commonly what folks know as transitioning is like kind of the chemical or physical transition of like taking hormones or having certain addition or subtraction surgeries, or whatever that looks like. So that's the one thing that I'm confused about is how is what does transitioning mean for them, and what that means, because I think depending on that interpretation, a lot can come with that, right? Like if you are creating a structure where you're supporting how someone's identity feels to them at that moment, or are just creating an environment where they can explore that and what that means, I think that anybody of any age deserves that. And if their parents can facilitate that type of environment, that's cool. I think that's ideal, right? That's the perfect scenario. That's the dream scenario. But if you are taking measures to make permanent decisions based on that type of exploration, then now as the parents and as the responsible adults, now you have a responsibility to continue building a structure of exploration and not permanence, right? Because what you have to do, especially for someone that young, is create the environment where they can figure it out. You cannot facilitate them doing something permanent based on this exploration stage. And I feel like that's what you're the gatekeeper of like, all right, you can explore this, you can figure out what this looks like, you can learn about it. Shit, I could fucking probably learn about it too. But in learning about this, we're not gonna make any decisions at this point and at this stage that we can't reverse or that we can't continue to grow from and continue to expand our understanding of, right? That to me, that's where the parents in these type of situations have a role to play in, like kind of putting your foot down, like I feel you. I understand that you're trans. We're going to acknowledge you as such. We're going to build this environment where, we're going to support you in that identity. But if that involves surgeries or chemicals, I'm not going to give my approval on that. We're going to provide the environment for you to live in that and let that be your truth. And when you become of age to make that decision for yourself, then you can do whatever you want to do. But I'm not about to let you do that on my own at this point in this stage as the one responsible for you, right? So that's kind of how I feel. I feel like it's the parents' job and parents' responsibility to allow that type of exploration and just be the support system that they need, and like the source of information that they need as they're going through this change. And once they are in a position to make a permanent decision, all you got to do is support them at that point, right? Like you've built the environment that they need and you've given them all the information they need and how to find the information. At this point, you gotta trust in your skills and be like, all right, go ahead, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, nigga. Now you can, and whatever you choose to do, I'm behind you 100%, and we're gonna do this together, and it is what it is. Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, to me, obviously a huge shout out to Dwayne Wade, to Gabrielle Union, and the whole Wade family for being, supportive and publicly so. I think this is something that's very, very important and needed. I think this is another signal of kind of the change in our community of talking about shit that we haven't talked about before. Like I talked about Snoop asking for consent when he cussed out Gayle King. I think this kind of example of this family, being supportive of these identity Olympics, as a lot of folks like to call it, I think that's very, very important and very important for our community to progress. It's very, 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 very important. But a couple segments that I think are important. We always have a relationship segment. And I think this one is an interesting one, which is like the best gift you've ever gotten. The reason why this is a question is because, and Valentine's Day is over, so I can speak my piece now. I couldn't say this shit before Valentine's Day. But Valentine's Day is one of the worst holidays that exist, bro. It's such bullshit.
Well, let's be nice. Yeah. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. I mean, good Lord.
It's such bullshit. It's so painful. It's such a painful holiday. It's like it's a slap in the fucking face is what it is.
But I will say, because the way we're both set up, we're kind of don't like what to be told to do. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit rebellious in that sense. The fact that someone's telling us that we need to shower them. It's not even a woman. It's just society telling us we need to shower them with gifts or do stuff. We don't like that part of it. I can see why you would say it. You feel the same way I do about it.
Yeah. Yes, and I think yes, and the thing about that is the fact of the matter is I could understand that type of expectation being laid on someone who has the opportunity to have that same expectation of you, right? And that's where shit gets tricky, because this is just without some sort of what did Lauryn Hill teach the black community, reciprocity. You know what I'm saying? Then at some point, how else should this be viewed other than you taking advantage of some shit? And the some shit is my kindness. Right? Right? Like the some shit is me giving a fuck about how you actually feel and wanting you to not feel like shit and wanting you to feel happy. So like why should like we're literally celebrating a day of I give a fuck about how you feel even though this is stupid. But I'm still gonna give you what you need. Like it's kind of a mind fuck if you really think about it. And then so to counteract that, folks have started celebrating Sweetest Day, which is in the fall, right?
And don't forget about Low Job and Steak Day.
What day is that? Birthday?
Nah, man, I think it's in
Blow Job and Steak Day.
May 16th or 17th, something like that. Yeah, put that down. We need to spread the word.
Yeah. Blow Job and Steak Day. But see, no, I actually don't like this because what we're doing is we're trying to. March 14th is Blow Job and Steak Day. Steak and Knobber Day.
What?
March 14th. It's coming up.
Around the corner.
It's coming up.
Ladies.
So maybe I celebrate it this year. But
these holidays.
Yeah.
But this one right here.
You're right. I'm gonna start this campaign after March 14th. but nah, all we're doing is we're like what I don't. So this is what it comes down to. What I don't like about a Valentine's Day or a Sweetest Day or Steak and Knobber Day is what we're doing is we're trying to hold exclusive these like activities that are like fun and pleasurable and enjoyable, and we're using them to hold them as hostage in exchange for you facilitating an emotion. Like this is what's actually happening. If we want to break it down, this is what's happening. We're setting up behaviors, we're encouraging behaviors that say, hey, you like getting head, you like steak, I'm only going to help you achieve and like have those things one day per year. You enjoy it, so then I need to make sure that you have that once a year. That is my version of doing my job and ensuring your happiness. Once every fucking rotation of the sun, you get this thing that you love and you enjoy. And now this is where it gets crazy. If you find or if you come across anyone else who is willing to help you facilitate these things that you enjoy any other time, oh, that's a problem. That's not okay. So like you're not allowed to fill in the other 364 holes that you have in your year, right? You're not allowed to do that because that is against the social contract. All right, cool. I'm the only one who can provide this for you, and you only getting it once a year. So what we're doing is we're facilitating a society where pleasure is being leveraged for activity and behavior, right? This is just like when you give a dog. That's just like when you give. It's not just like, but a parallel is when you give a dog a treat for sitting down, right? You're saying, "Yo, good job, you did it. That's what I wanted you to do. Here's your treat." I don't know. I was just saying. So for us to have a steak and blowjob day and a Valentine's Day, not only is disrespectful, I think, to the sentiments and emotions that these holidays are supposed to celebrate, as if I can only feel these things annually for the person that I'm involved with. I think that is kind of wild. Like I feel like buying my shorty flowers and like doing a back rub and a spa day more than once a year. So like, am I supposed to hold that back and like save it? Because like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, it's confusing and it's ridiculous. And I think that is kind of wild. And I'm also not even getting into the gender equity piece of this. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother tangent. all I'm saying is for anyone celebrating a day of enjoyment with your significant other, to restrict that to once a year is kind of wild. And if we're not going to restrict it to once a year, we got to get rid of that day that celebrates it once a year. It should be something consistent. But what do I know? What do I know? I don't know shit. I really wanted to talk about the Drake and Future. I really, really wanted to talk about this because I think that there's some shit going on.
Okay. Let's hear this theory you said you had.
Most folks are familiar with the joint album that Drake and Future released, What a Time to Be Alive. And, it was a great album. I think it was a timely album. I think they had just, reconciled whatever beef they had over whatever bitches they was fucking. So they had, made up and, went on tour and all of this good shit. And so recently, in recent weeks, they have been shooting videos together, being on social media together, releasing songs together. So they released a song, Life is Good, with a beat switch up. I think we talked about it on this podcast too. I was talking about how people hated Future's version and how they didn't have anything to do with each other or whatever. But no, I thought it was a really good song. It was dope. It was lit. And then shortly after that song came out, I think is when I heard the snippet for Desires. And I think it was just the hook for Desires that I heard at that point. But then Life is Good started blowing up, but the album didn't come out. We didn't hear there was a little bit of, I think they shot a video for Life is Good. There was a little bit of buzz, but no video came out. Then they started releasing other shit. So Drake put out the Desires leaked version. So the snippet that we heard had a long Future verse, but then the leak that Drake put out was a longer Drake verse and a shorter Future verse. So he basically cut Future out the verse. Basically is what happened. And released that song on SoundCloud. And then, so that was late last week probably. And then more recently, in the last couple days, this nigga Future did a remix to Life is Good where he cut out Drake's verse and put the Baby and Lil Baby on the song, on the remix. And so now we have the two singles to an alleged Drake and Future album that have been repurposed to exclude the other one. If this ain't a beef, I don't know what is. You're releasing the singles. You have two singles for your project. You put those out. And then each of you remove the other's verse and re-release the song. That's what are we talking about? It's either a marketing tool or it's beef, right? Because we were expecting this shit to come out a while ago now, right? I think there were rumors a long time ago. And then the fact that they were shooting videos and releasing singles kind of made it more official. And now it's just well, niggas, are y'all putting the shit out or not? And at this point, so we know a Drake album is coming. He said that his Rap Radar interview. So we know a solo Drake project is coming for sure. I think that if Drake wanted to release early Q2, Q3 with that album, then he would need a Drake Future album to facilitate moving into his solo, right? He can't come off Scorpion and not release no project and go into this album this summer, early December, mid-spring without that. So maybe they had legitimate plans to put out this Drake and Future album. Yeah. And then them nigga, Future started fucking with Lori and got distracted. Or Drake got jealous, one of the two.
Lori eventually get to Drake, you know what I'm saying? She's doing the rounds right now, so she'll get to Drake.
You think she'll get to Drake? I don't think she will.
She's getting to everybody else.
I don't think she will.
She went from Diddy's son to Diddy.
I don't think she will.
Keep up.
I don't think she will.
If she a real nigga, she gonna get to Drake. Then she gonna get some songs written about her. She gotta break Future's heart first so we can get the best album.
If we can get a Same Girl album from Drake and Future,
it definitely has some more brothers though.
Oh yeah, definitely. They should do a whole album Yes, of girls they like battled each other for about like what do you know? Oh, that would be awesome. That would be so entertaining. What's the song? Same is it same girl? Nasty
Usher.
Man and Usher. Nasty Man and Usher had same girl, and that's a really good song. But imagine a fucking Future and Drake album of stories.
I don't think niggas willing to get that vulnerable though.
Them two niggas are. Them two niggas are, bro.
Maybe Drake, not Future.
You don't think? But that's the balance.
Talking about a loss.
But so that's the balance. Future is gonna say it from the toxic nigga aspect.
You need that.
Yeah, and we need that balance to Drake's accountable ass. Like, you know, I did you wrong. It was my fault. And then Future's gonna be like, but you made me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the balance that niggas need. And yeah, man, that's what we need. That's the project that we need. That's the project that we need. Oh no. Let's see. Yeah, that's man, fuck all that. That's what I want to hear. That's exactly what I want to hear. I want to hear a Same Girl album. All right, I think it's time to wrap this thing up, man. But we would be remiss if we did not do Florida Man. We have to do Florida Man for today. So Florida Man for Monday, February 17th. February 17th. Florida Man. What do we got? Oh, yeah. Yeah, this will do it. So the headline here is Florida Man arrested after pointing a laser at a helicopter. You know, we all do dumb shit. You know how, like, there's certain, like, prank type shit you can do that you know would be disruptive and maybe kind of funny, but you just also know you shouldn't do it, like yelling fire in a movie theater or pulling the fire alarm at a goddamn conference or something like that. Like, you gotta know that pointing a laser at a helicopter is one of them things. I remember when I was in high school once, I had a laser pointer pen. Like, it was a laser pointer, but it was also a pen, and I was writing, but I did not know this. I borrowed it from someone. But I was writing in class, and apparently I kept, like, my knuckle or something kept bumping against the pen, so it kept flashing the laser on the ceiling. I ended up getting in trouble and almost got suspended for that shit, because apparently having a laser pointer in school is like a suspendable offense because they're dangerous, right? Presumably you could point it and burn somebody's retina or whatever. So in school specifically, they're like, yeah, really like pressed about that shit. I didn't get in trouble because it was an accident. I didn't know it was a laser pointer.
Allegedly, it was an accident.
Yeah, no, allegedly it was an accident, right? But anyway, this motherfucker decided to point a laser at a helicopter. And hold up, now that I look at it, that's literally the entire story.
How do you get caught doing that? How do they pinpoint the location?
This is, is it this website? No, it's not this website. Oh, what happens is, shit, they have video of it. So this guy looks like he's it. Oh, shit. So they have video from the helicopter of this guy. Look at this shit. Of this guy at his, it looks like he's at his crib.
This nigga dumb as fuck.
Yeah, they have like infrared video of this motherfucker. And like at his like estate or whatever, pointing the laser at the fucking helicopter. Yeah, you're probably gonna go ahead and probably arrest you. From the looks of like this infrared thing, it looks like it's a like military grade helicopter. It was a 48-year-old man who shined a red laser at the helicopter.
Come on, bro.
From his own backyard. He told deputies he ain't know it was illegal.
50. Like, what are you doing?
Felony misuse of a laser device.
Wow. I thought this was gonna be like some teenagers.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. First of all, what are you doing with a laser pointer at 50? Like, if you're not playing with your dog or your cat or like some sort of pet, why do you have one of those? Are you doing presentations? Like, what? You got a PowerPoint, nigga? Like, what is it? Why do you have one of those? And then why would you point it at a fucking helicopter?
You should know.
And if you're gonna point it at a helicopter, don't you just do it once and then run away and hide? Like, oh shit, I put it up. Blah, blah, blah. Like,
and the military wanted that or something.
That's the thing. The infrared footage from that shit looked like.
They thinking somebody pointed a gun at them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they got his
exactly.
ass.
Yeah, nah, bro. You can't be doing shit like that, man. Fucking Florida, man. Fucking Florida, man. And this was the other part about this that's disturbing. This was last year. This was not no long time ago. This just happened. Anyway, man, I think that's a wrap for this week. Really good podcast this week. I think we're gonna figure out how to continue to provide y'all with this content. I think the 30-minute episodes are getting folks excited, and then I think we're gonna have some more shit to hit people over the heads with in terms of content. Just stay tuned, stay plugged in. As always, you can listen to us anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. We're literally on all digital streaming platforms, all DSPs except for Tidal until we on Tidal. So all you have to do is look up the Self-Medicated Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can listen to the full episodes on any of those platforms there. Definitely make sure you follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at the Self-Med Pod. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, the Self-Medicated Podcast. Do all of those things. We're gonna start having maybe polls or something. Start doing some shit for y'all to start participating and letting us know what type of topics y'all want us to talk about. Until the next time, we will talk to you later. It's the Self-Medicated Podcast, man. We out here. Let's go.